What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Beloved Dorseys Podcast. We are your hosts,
Mrs. Dorsey
and Mr. Dorsey. We have another wonderful episode coming to you all. But before we get to the main topic, we want to talk about our
laughs and lessons.
Cool. So this week,
Before you start, if you're new to our podcast, we talk about love, relationship, life, and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
We think that it's important for you guys to know that we are consistently growing and learning. And
disclaimers.
Yeah, disclaimers. I love disclaimers. Okay, so when I put stuff out there, I always realize, like, oh my gosh, I if there's nobody there to interrogate the point,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's more to it that can be said. So, also, I don't know everything. This is Bailey.
We're not licensed. We're not professionals. We're just people that enjoy talking about this stuff.
If you're watching, we have our Shih Tzu Bailey with us. Zeke is in the hallway. If he was in here, he'd be jumping on us, so he can't be in here. But maybe one day.
Discrimination.
Maybe one day he'll visit. But yeah, we're consistently growing and learning and moving forward and changing our ideas and learning more. And so we hope that you guys give us grace as we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, give us your feedback and all of that. So go ahead.
All right, back to the items at hand.
Laughs and lessons.
My laugh of the week is we were out talking with a friend, and this friend of ours happens to also be pretty successful in what they do in their field. And we were making jokes about the differences in their expectation of price range and the things they do. And my wife was talking about some trip that I think it was like six grand a person or something like that. And we was like,
how much does it cost?
Yeah. So it's like real reasonable for what we're looking to do. And she was like, yeah, no, I don't think you realized, as a person that was a former nanny, at one time, maybe making $1,350. And she was like, $1,350? That's not that, just like $1,350, that's not that bad a week. And I could not. I kept bringing that up for the rest of the night because the fact that her mind couldn't even wrap around $13.50. Cents don't even compute to her. She's never seen the little C symbol. She doesn't worry about pocket change. So that was just a joke that kept running for the rest of the evening. As far as a lesson from it, that same night we ended up having a conversation talking about expectations, and because our friend was single, was talking about the person or type of person that they're looking for, and had not unrealistic parameters, but was just listing certain things that at the end of the day wasn't gonna make or break for the person that you're gonna spend the rest of your life with. There might be some things in here that would be cool and they would appreciate, but there weren't things that you have to be happy for the next 40, 50 years. They all wouldn't have mattered. And the lesson was really just, as a single person, keep your options open. That was it. Just because somebody doesn't fit exactly into the box, you could be surprised at how your life would change and how different your needs are in 5 years, 10 years. So, yeah.
I feel like we see that with the people who've had successful marriages with Married at First Sight.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always get the person that they expected.
I know.
And so I feel like that's a great... Come on, Bailey. Shut up. That's a great example of keeping your options open, because these are people that they may not have picked.
A big thing that people are always talking about on that show that holds no real weight is they're wanting these butterflies. Mm-hmm. And that is just really probably some little, chemical feeling that you're getting from anticipation and having
more of an infatuation.
Yeah, an infatuation. Your body is in this state of stress because it's like, oh, this person that,
Well, you also...
it's fun. It can be great, but that is not a determining factor on somebody that you're building a life around. Just because somebody, you know how many people get infatuated with people that are terrible for them? You were just saying this about boys that seem not dark and tormented, but what was the description where they seem uninterested or aloof and cool? They're just really socially immature or emotionally immature or something.
I was reading a post.
Yeah, something to that effect. But the things that you at one point in time might be so attracted to or looking for, and that might get you going, really doesn't it doesn't mean anything. And you can't even know that because you have only experienced however much life you've experienced. But especially people that are like even under 30, there's so many things in the next 5 or next 10 years in your life that you'll experience that is going to make things your perspective start to change and and your perspective is going to change, as is mine. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's expected throughout life. The more you learn, the more you know, and the more you can kind of choose how you're going to react to it or what you need in that moment in time in life. Because what I needed in kindergarten was definitely not what I needed in second grade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My laugh of the week, we went to dinner this week, and I was sharing with someone our wonderful love story and all of the pieces. Well, my husband started sharing before I gave the amazing details that go into that, and he was like, yeah, we met at a house party and then we got married. And
that's the story.
It's not the story at all, actually.
No, you're missing an important detail. I came up to you at the house party, then I proposed, then we got married.
Which is not how the story went at all. There was multiple years in between all of these things.
Fluff.
There's multiple years in between all of these things.
Fluff.
That he did not account.
This is not an autobiography.
He did not account for.
How did you meet? Met at a house party. That's the answer to the question.
Anyways, my lesson of the week, and I shared this on my business page stories. I probably will post it as well, but kind of to what you were saying about keeping your possibilities open, but also making sure that you choose the right partner, and not the partner that looks good or, okay, hold on. Let's be real. My husband is fine. I understand. I'm super blessed. Sometimes, y'all, I'll just be sitting and I'm just like, hilarious. You are so fine.
You're so fine.
You're so fine.
I'll lick your face.
Okay, anyways, moving forward, because we'll do this back and forth. I just, there's all glory to God. My husband is both amazing and attractive. But just realizing, like, there's things that matter and there's things that don't when you are picking a life partner. And so, again, something that I've shared on my platform is that I have struggled with anxiety and depression for a very long time, on and off. I'm sorry. I have been working to overcome anxiety and depression for a very long time. I don't want to say that I am struggling with it. I feel like I am, especially now, because I feel like I'm doing a lot better than I was in the past. But sometimes I'll just be really down. I don't always have all of the answers. I can't always tell you exactly what it is, what triggered it, what I'm feeling right in that moment that could give somebody in on how to fix something that's I'm not even sure that they could actually fix. And so I do know in that moment I was kind of struggling with the fact that things were not getting done. And it is very important to me to be a good wife and a good partner to my husband, because I know that he's a good husband and he's a good partner to me.
You're a great partner.
Oh, thank you, baby. And so I was just really having a hard time, and I had already had a stressful day, so I know that didn't help. And I don't know what happened, but we said something, and I just started crying. And then he came over, he hugged me, gave me some kisses. It's like, it's okay. And I got myself together. And then I started crying again. And I got myself together. And in all of these interactions, he's coming over and he's consoling me. And not once did he say, what's wrong? What's going on? What happened? And for some people, that might be kind of off-putting. But for me, it was exactly what I needed because I didn't have the words to explain. I just needed to be held. I just needed to be consoled. I just need to know that it's okay, that we're going to get through this. And he just began to affirm me. And I didn't just cry twice. I cried multiple times that night and the next day, to the point where I was just like, hey, can you just stop by my job? I just need a hug. And realizing, had it been anybody else, maybe I would have had to explain over and over again, you know, what's going on, what exactly I'm feeling. And they would have tried to fix it. But I have a husband that listens, and knows that everything is not for fixing. Some things are just for, like, sometimes I just need you to ride through it with me, and to be by my side. And so it's very important to pick a person who is going to communicate with you, that is going to understand you, and love you through the parts that they don't understand. So that's my lesson.
You want a moment of transparency on that? On the first night anyway, as I was in there cleaning and getting the things ready, I was slightly annoyed. I was like, man, and it was not because of just dinner. I was doing some other stuff, like putting something away, putting something up that you hadn't gotten to yet. And I was just like, man, doing all this stuff, whatever. But I'll, just like probably anybody does, there's a level of internal complaint that you'll make before it needs to become an external complaint. Like, it's...
Because you would ask me to do something, and I was just like, no, not right now.
Yeah.
I'll do it later.
Empty the dishwasher. And I'm really big on that of more often than not, I'm asking for something that I really kind of want done now, but I'm not going to... I can't make you do anything, so I'm just going to begrudgingly do it, and either you'll come in there and, you know, finish off when I get it, or I'm just going to get it done, and then maybe I'll complain about it later. I don't know, but that was essentially the case. I'm already cooking and taking care of something else because I have decided I want this thing done.
Yeah.
I'm all in that trying to do better about it's not an unexpressed expectation. That being said, it does not also make you responsible now that you have to do it now. But I at least said the words. And so in the process of going and doing that, and then I realized you are in a space and having a moment, and I was like, oh, well, all right. I'm just going to, I'll let that go. And then you start apologizing to me, and I was just like, well, now I feel bad. It's okay. Don't you worry. I wasn't even thinking about it. You sweet thing. I wasn't even thinking about needing anything from you.
You know what? I appreciate that, and I'm not even mad about it. Hair or something.
It's her. That's why I knew this was a bad idea. Because she was going to get hair everywhere.
Baby. Her so sweet. Look at her. She's like in a little ball.
She's in thousands of little balls that are floating around.
Just one piece of hair, though. But yeah, that was my lesson. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I feel like you are gonna have internal conversations. We watched that movie. What was that movie? And I keep telling people about this movie. It was some movie where the guys they lived in a village full of men and no women lived there, and it was because the women could hear their thoughts.
Oh yeah,
because everything they thought was out loud.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I don't remember.
I turned to you one day.
Was that a Netflix movie?
I don't know, but I remember turning to you and being like, baby, don't you wish we could hear each other's thoughts or something? And you was like,
absolutely not.
And I was like, well, why not? And you were like, some things you just don't need to know.
Get out of here. You're wilding.
It's like your feelings would be hurt.
Fold, dude. Fold. I don't want to be in that. Nah.
So, just, I feel like that's appropriate. There are things that you're just not gonna like, and it's your choice on how you handle that. Everything doesn't have to be a conflict or interaction or whatever. Some things you just think of and keep it moving.
Yeah. Okay. So now we can transition on into our main topic, which is this episode is going to be about relationship boundaries. Title is actually Respect My Boundaries.
And so I was telling Justin this week that I saw an interview. Okay, so I didn't see the full interview.
This is another one of those stories I did not ask. I'm going to take a reference back to my laugh of the week from the first one. Did never ask. I think I was just like, what are you laughing at or something? And I got the whole backstory before we actually got to the point. So now we get to share the backstory with you.
Such a crybaby.
Here you go.
Just a crybaby. Anyways, I don't know if you guys have seen the interview. I don't even know whose interview it was. Honestly, when I saw it, it was after the comment was made, and then the aftermath after that with Krishan Rock and Blueface. But apparently they were doing an interview. Something was said or asked that she was uncomfortable with answering. And Blue continued to entertain the question, and she got upset. And she got upset, and then you see her, like, put her arm around him or whatever, and she's like, I love you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, ayo, chill, and, like, grabs her hand, and she's, like, holding on to his hand, and he, like, walks her out. And then you hear him, like, y'all better get her...
But before that, you said he carried on answering the question or whatever, and she asked him. Did she ask him not to, or ask him to stop?
Yeah, she asked him not to. I didn't say that? Okay. Yeah, she asked him not to answer, or she wanted to move on. She said next question. And then they carried her out, and he's like, y'all better get her before I do. Grab her. If you don't slam her, I will. Something like that. I don't know. And then he goes back in and just kind of... Ooh. Amen. Where was I going with that?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's okay because you skipped the main part of what it is. So going from the retelling that she told me that I'm going to tell y'all that she doesn't remember anymore. Allegedly, after the question was asked, and she expressed that she did not want to talk about it or wanted to move on from the question. Mm-hmm. He began to answer the question or talk about it, and she asked him or reminded him, hey, I said I was uncomfortable with this. Mm-hmm. He expressed to her respect.
No, when they came back, when she came back, that's where I was going. When she came back, she was like, well, I didn't want to answer the question or whatever, and he was like, I'm the man, I wear the pants, as the man in this relationship, you should trust that I'm going to answer the question in the best interest of our relationship and the both of us. And she's like, I didn't want to answer the question. I didn't want to talk about it. I said, next question.
Right. So in that, it touched on this idea of essentially of relationship boundaries and, expressing those and the responsibility of the other party to respect that. Mm-hmm. So fast forward earlier today.
Yes. So if I figure out her Instagram, I will definitely share it with y'all. I think her style is so cute.
There was a girl in an outfit.
Let me finish.
There was a woman in an outfit.
Okay, so she's like, it's an ad, right? She's got on like these wide leg pants and a black bra or something, and she held. Maybe it was a shirt. Anyway,
there was no bra. There was no bra. It's just pasties under the.
No, I'm talking about. I'm giving them the vision of the video.
Oh Lord Jesus.
Okay. Then she's like holding up two pieces that are essentially lingerie. One's a unitard. Is it called a unitard?
You asking me?
Leotard. Oh, it's got the snap in the bottom. One is that, and then the other one is like a bralette bra situation. The first one. It's like got a black collar, and then it has like these snakes on it around the boob part, and then it's see-through everywhere else. So she has on pasties, and she has on Bailey. Relax. She has on pasties. Bailey. I'm trying to tell a story. She has on pasties, but the whole top is like see-through. She has on these high-waist pants. And I was like, babe, how would you feel if I wore something like that? Would you be okay with that? And he was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And then he was like, wait, like girls' night or out with me? Or he said he would have
wasn't no, okay. I didn't ask a question. I clarified stipulations. Yeah. I say, ho, hey, ho, hey, hey. Before we move forward and you take this as a blanket, you got the go-ahead statement. Let me say, 6 months from now, you get this piece and you decide you going on a girls trip or something like that. They say, nah, don't throw that in the bag. That's me and you going out. And then you ask
and my question was, why? And I told him,
don't answer it
yet. Because I want this to kind of play out. I'm kind of interested in why. Mm-hmm. What the difference is. Yeah.
What's the difference? That's my relationship boundary. That's what I'm comfortable with. So
I respect your boundary,
mm-hmm,
but what I'm asking you is not about your boundary. I'm asking you to clarify so that I understand a little bit more about why that's your boundary.
So that is my boundary because if in a different situation or maybe a different person, in the same reason the reason you were asking, someone might not be comfortable with their partner being dressing that way, or being that open in their dressing, whatever you want to call it. That is not the case. I think I am actually comfortable with you being less reserved than you typically are in some of the ways that you dress. I'm like, I'd be okay. And there's been times in life when I was less okay with that, or I've been in a relationship where that relationship boundary was pushed beyond what I was comfortable with, in terms of what my partner was comfortable with showing her in ways they were being seen on social media. I was less comfortable at that time. What is the difference between the two? If I, honestly, if you were wearing it by yourself, I honestly would probably really be fine if it came down to that and we're having that conversation. But just off the top of my head, I'm going to say no, because in that thinking about that will require me to test my, what my feels are, how secure am I in this regard. Really doesn't have anything to do with you as much as the type of attention that it's going to solicit for you regardless, but that much more attention when you are by yourself or just with other women. And so it kicks in on that instinct of needing to protect you and feel like, yes, somebody might try to, say something sly or slick when my back is turned, but at least I am here.
Okay, so you feel like...
It's a protection thing.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. I feel like I've seen way too many videos on or posts and stuff on social media about this person, that person having unfortunate interactions, whether it is being raped or being killed or being beaten.
Or just being in an unnecessarily aggressive or uncomfortable situation.
All the things. Followed home, all of those things. So
men are crazy.
That makes sense. I feel like that is also partially why aside from I feel like I was raised to just think about other people's
views and opinions.
Yeah. But aside from that, I think that also plays a role in like how much attention do I want to bring, and in what way. Like, and so the outfit was cute. It was just super revealing, and I think that's the part that kind of made me a little uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's like I would love to be a little more risque, but
you aspire. Usually,
I don't know if it's that much. But yeah, so to that point,
what is a situation?
What are some times in which your boundaries were violated?
It sounds so aggressive when you say it like that.
Violated?
Yeah,
like
I don't
violated.
know. Yeah, I don't know. You had extra emphasis on violated. Relax. I know an early memory I can think of a personal boundary or personal boundaries being violated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's happened with other people, but I remember when I was younger, one of my uncles used to really irritate me, and I don't know why. Like, it was probably in a case of just being picked on, or, you know, him doing something he knew I did not like. Mm-hmm. And he would do it because it's funny. Sometimes messing with little kids is funny. I've definitely done it. But I feel like my mother thought it was funny too, because I remember yelling at him crazy. I'm like, I hate you, I can't stand you. And I'm like a little kid. But I feel like he would also like pick me up or sit me in ways that I'm being annoyed, and I'm like, hey yo, I want you to stop. And I'm being careful because I don't want it to sound like I was violated in any type of way, but more so being picked on. And we've talked about this with my parents, maybe mention it with her parents, that we want to parent our children differently. We don't want to make them have to hug people or family members if they don't feel like it, or go be with somebody or sit with somebody if they express that they would not like to. We want them to have agency over their bodies, for their protective aspect, and also so they mature in that right at a younger age.
Able to set boundaries, able to say, hey,
being able to set boundaries over their personal and and expect it to be expected, not expected to not need to be valued, and to
because of who it is
have to bow down to who the person is, if they're family or somebody in a higher position. So it was innocent in that space, but from that is what I learned, that it's, that's an important thing, and it also can, affect your relationship with that person. You're gonna grow up, people laugh at you as a kid, but you remember it. You just remember. You don't remember things, but you remember how you felt. And if that person, just always got on your nerves or did these things, you're going to be less inclined to, enjoy them. And I don't have no problem with either of my uncles, but it is a lesson I learned.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Okay, so I feel like a lot of people, and I could be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people have had this situation where you are around someone that's older and they comment on your weight. Whether they feel like you're not eating and they want to feed you.
Nobody asked.
Or they're trying to figure out, they're trying to say that you've gained weight, but it always comes out wrong. And I feel like that has always been one of those boundary things where I always feel uncomfortable. And my mom will have conversations, and I've kind of had to let her know, like, I need you to word it in a way that doesn't sound like you're talking about my weight, but we'll have health conversations. So, like, this goes on in our family. It's important to eat these things and not eat these things, exercise, whatever. But realizing, like, talking about my body is definitely a boundary. Giving me information that's going to help me as far as, again, like, health or knowing my family history and stuff like that is always fine. But I have realized over time that, like, I don't talk about my body, like, yeah, I think that's definitely been that's a boundary that I feel like has been violated in the past. That's very uncomfortable. Also, so I guess when we talk about boundaries, we have boundaries, but then we don't always share with people exactly what those boundaries are and when they are. So I had a situation in which I was intimate with someone, and he asked, was I okay with it? And I said yes. But once we started, it was a lot more aggressive than I was okay with. And because we had already started, I was having a hard time with saying, hey, this is uncomfortable. And it was it kind of hit me pretty hard, especially afterward and thinking about it. I wasn't like beaten and bruised, but it was uncomfortable and to the point where I had to eventually later on have a conversation and let this person know how I felt, because I felt violated. I felt like, I don't know. It just was way more aggressive than I was ready for and I was interested in. And it was a boundary that I had, but I didn't share. And I think that kind of brings us to the question of like when to kind of insert those boundaries and how we insert those boundaries. Like, what's a good time? Is it when I first meet you? Hey, I don't like, pens that are yellow, so don't bring me a yellow pen or I'm going to be upset. Or like, when do you share that?
So I feel like it's a really good question because some people have that quirk or have a rule where they might know something is so common that they come out the gate and like, hey, whatever, just so you know, I have a thing about feet. Don't put your feet on me. Don't let me see your feet. Don't touch me out the gate early. First time we meet. But more often than not, I feel like boundaries are assumed and or unspoken until they are violated, and then you have to correct a lot of things people may expect to be common courtesy. If we're talking about in the realm of a relationship, one person might be used to being in a relationship where commenting on the other sex or something that not in is like out of line. Verbally or commenting on pictures is out of line. The other person might not be used to that, and you don't say that because in your mind, why would you do something like this? But they don't think anything is wrong with that. And so I think it's common and for people essentially not communicating enough.
I feel like it's important to express those boundaries as soon as possible. I also still think that it's not... People don't usually run down a whole list of boundaries. I think they are situational. I think it's when they come up that people are like, oh, okay. Or kind of like what I was expressing in the other episode of like, it comes up in conversation. And people are expressing in that situation that they don't like something.
Yeah, because, I mean, you can't tell someone everything about yourself in one sitting. Or 10 sittings. That's why it takes a lifetime to learn somebody, because as you grow, you also learn more things about yourself, or things change. What once was will not always be the case. What once is something that was a boundary for you is not, may not be as big an issue later on. There's things where we learned about each other or came up in the course of us in our relationship where we're digging is like, okay, how do you feel about this? Here's something we haven't talked about. I have, this situation, or, we're going to visit family and back home, this is going on.
Okay, prime example. We were with my family, and I feel like the way we work is I'm going to give you a look. Hold that in your mind as a question to ask later if you don't know what the look means. But by no means do you ask what the look means in that moment and start a conversation. I'm giving you a look as a nonverbal communication to, hey, pay attention to that moment. Hey, pay attention to that thing. We'll talk about it later. My husband is very...
Y'all better give me a framework or something. Don't just have me set me out there in the dark. So I'm like, why are you looking at me?
And
why can't I ask about this person?
And I am texting him like,
I'm talking about them right there. No, they're right behind. Don't
when that person walked by, why'd you look like that? Do we not like him? Do we like him? Does something happen?
Are you gonna tell me in the car? All right, cool. All right, just make sure you tell me.
And I'm just like, one, you could have just texted me that, or we could have had a text conversation. Obviously, there's a nonverbal communication happening because we're not having the conversation right this second in this moment. But that is one of those things where I had to be like, hey, over here, if there's a look, this is how we go about the look, you know, and we're going to keep it moving from there. It's just not the appropriate time to have the conversation about the thought that I thought in that moment.
But I also, when I understand the scenario, like when we're just out and we go into places, i.e., when we were out at the friend's birthday party and somebody got up and told the story, expressed something that we found commonality with. I was like, okay, I'm going to put a pin in that. I'm going to pull them to the side and talk to them about this later. I'm not going to. No. My man busted that bubble because I tried to pull him to the side. I'm like, hey, man, let me talk to y'all. Let me talk to y'all later about, oh, you mean, hey, wife.
But that's exactly how the conversation was.
I was like, bro.
When we were out with my family.
You're right. That's right. That was literally the same thing. Like, bro. Relax.
So you get it. It's just situational, and I think that's.
Yeah, I was. None of the framework was set that there was. So I was so confused and so in the dark. I feel like it was a sensitive enough topic. I would have at least thought he should have.
Yeah.
But
so for clarification, we were out. My husband was talking to someone, and about something that we want. He wanted his wife to talk with me about whatever. We were all gonna have a conversation, and
he talked it at a room volume, in a volume, like he called her from over. He called his wife over from across the room and was like, "Baby, they want to talk about this." I'm like, "Yo, relax."
And so it was like, I don't want to bring attention to this because I don't want it to become a group conversation. And so that kind of put it more into context. And sometimes when I feel like with boundaries, you have to explain it that way.
So that's where it's harder.
Your yes is a yes and your no is a no. If you're okay with it, you're okay with it. And if you're not, you're not. You don't always have to give someone an explanation. You don't owe anybody an explanation.
Right.
You said it doesn't make you comfortable. That should be that. But I also feel like with the people you're around, as you learn and love people, and there are people that you want to keep around you, it is also important to share why, what that makes you feel. Because yes, I can remember not to do it, but I also need to have more understanding. Also, as your friend, as your partner, as your sister, as whoever, when I see someone else starting to do it, I can then help you enforce your boundaries.
That's a marker of how close somebody is to you, is how willing you are to bring them in closer by letting them know what what you like or dislike. Because you might tolerate certain violations from people that aren't close to you because you don't like them, so it gives you a reason to keep them on the outside.
We were all at my house a long time ago days for a Christmas party situation that I was having, and I remember talking to Justin about feeling sad or like wanting them to show up or them not showing up to something or whatever. And so I remember talking to him about it, and everybody came over, and I told him, because I have an issue with, or I don't like
confrontation.
No. I also don't like confrontation. Or negative confrontation. But I don't like, if you tell me you're going to do something, then I'm expecting you to do it. And so when people don't do those things, it hurts me. So I'm expressing that to him, and we're sitting in a space, and I'm like trying to be cool, but then also kind of battling with, should I share, should I not share, whatever. And because Justin knew that that it was a boundary that I had, he brought it up, and he
said the things.
Yeah, said the things that needed to be said. And as a person who struggles with how people are going to take things, and if all of that, who struggles with that aspect, to have a friend who was willing to say, hey, y'all, this wasn't right, and kind of rectify or address the issue, was helpful for me. And so I think that's the importance of sharing what your boundaries are, and not what they are, but just why you feel that way, what triggers that emotion. It also kind of can cut when it's leading up to that, that boundary violation, where you can be like, hey, yeah, let's not do that. Kind of the situation, again, when we were with my family, where I was able to be like, hey, and I'm texting you, like, we'll talk about it later, just let it go. I think that's super important.
So, one more question that
I was gonna ask, from those boundary violations that you've experienced, like, what have you learned, and what do you do differently now?
No, I said it already for that first one, about my uncle, or about being young and being forced to be in positions that's not comfortable, or if somebody's making you hug them, or being little and being picked up when you don't want to be picked up, not forcing our future children to, be in those situations, and allowing them to have agency over their body. As far as boundary violations, I think it depends on each scenario. I have gotten better, more so in recent years, because I've also learned how to vocalize my feelings. So at a younger age, anything prior to starting to do therapy, I honestly was not as great at vocalizing that, because I also wasn't as great at understanding the feelings that were attached to it. So it's harder to explain. It's just like, I don't like that. Don't do that. I do remember, in regards to being in a previous relationship, where my partner was more comfortable. What do you call it when was less conservative than I would like in their social media posts and the type of things. They were into urban modeling, and that was something they did before we had met, and so I wasn't comfortable with it, but I also didn't think it was fair for me to ask them not to do this thing that they were already doing, but I did express that I wasn't comfortable with it. And as time went on, I know I spent a lot of time reflecting on it more. And I actually, felt bad about being a hindrance, even though they chose on their own to not really do it as much when we were in a relationship. It's been something I've thought about since then, as far as how much of that is me infringing on my partner's rights, and also what's okay for me and my relationship parameters. What are my boundaries? What am I comfortable with if I'm going to be in a relationship with somebody? So I do appreciate that you as a partner are, I would rather you be, on the conservative end than less conservative end, and then us both, make that step together of, hey, how do you feel about this? I'm okay with that. Cool. You okay with that? I'm thinking about this. Okay, cool. Let's, move in that direction. And that also is just another reason why my wife is great and perfect for me. And that is not something I would ever see just on the outside. It's not even something that would probably come up in a talking relationship. It's something that's coming up as a married couple, because you don't really need to run with your, something like that by your boyfriend. It depends on who you are.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's better to have the conversations than to have the argument afterwards when they're uncomfortable.
Because speaking to our previous question, or the girls trip thing, I feel like that same ex I was talking about was going on a trip or something with a friend or friends, or a female friend, but it was going to be a beach trip. And I saw one of the bikinis, and that thing was barely anything. I said, I'm just going to hide this. I'm just going to stick this up somewhere and we don't have to worry about it. And that's, that's not right because I don't have the right to control what somebody else wears. In the same way, that was how I am voicing a boundary of mine. Instead of being able to have a conversation, I'm just going to take this and hide it and ask for forgiveness later. So I heard it come up before in maybe some post or something I was seeing, and the question is what or whose job is it to maintain your boundaries? And I think in the post they say it is the person whose boundaries it is job to maintain those boundaries. At first, I didn't think of it like that because I felt like once you voice it, that the onus is on that other person because you've set that expectation. But please fill me in, elaborate more what you.
So, it is your job to maintain and uphold, to maintain those boundaries. It is your job because it is your issue. It is the thing that bothers you, right? So, if my husband doesn't like being kissed and hugged and stuff while he's trying to eat, like he's focused on eating, he doesn't even really like to hold a conversation when he's eating because he's eating and it gets in the way and he likes to eat. So it took me a while, and I feel like I still have times where I'm like, oh shoot, he doesn't like that. That's his boundary. That's something he doesn't like. I'm not remembering that. I'm too busy remembering my own boundaries and my own things. And it is not for a lack of love. It is just, it may not have clicked. And so it is his job to say, hey babe, remember I don't like that. And to continue to uphold that. I feel like
sounds easier than done. Easier said than done.
Yeah, no, it's much easier to be like, I already told you I don't like that. And
No. More for the fact of, from my side, because I also, as much as I am here for reciprocity, there's stuff I feel like you can do to me that I can't do to you, or vice versa. And no two people are going to be even. Mm-hmm. If I said those words, hey, remember, babe, I don't really like that, I can hear it in my head. It's like, oh, yeah, no, I know. I was like, my bad. I was just about to stop. Or I was just doing this. Or I was only doing this. Mm-hmm. And it essentially being justified, or you saying you already know you don't need reminding, you were just catching yourself. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I do get your point, though, in terms of it is on the person that if they forget, having to essentially
even if they don't forget, it is. I mean, then your responsibility to enforce and to make the decision next on if somebody doesn't uphold those or whatever.
What the consequences?
Yeah. So I definitely think it's on you. I feel like when you are in relationship and partnership with somebody, whether it be a friend, family, your partner, your spouse, whatever, I think some of the responsibility is on them because they're agreeing to walk in life with you and, hand in hand, side by side, they care about you. And so when you say you care about somebody, it is important to commit those boundaries to memory so that you are not hurting or negatively impacting somebody that you love. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is so important. But if we get to the root of it, it is 1,000% the person whose boundaries they are. It is their responsibility to maintain those boundaries because nobody has to respect them.
That's fair.
It's our job to look out for us.
That's fair. Well, I feel like
I had one more. How do you identify? And I said a boundary violation, but then I feel like when we interrogated it more, it's more so an expressed boundary violation. But how do you identify an expressed boundary violation versus an unexpressed expectation?
If you didn't say anything about it, then and I think that goes back to the at the beginning of you have that conversation about a lot of things once that line is crossed, because it wasn't expressed whether you thought it was a normal thing that everybody shouldn't do to somebody else. I have a boundary that if I'm swimming in a pool or in the water with somebody, don't get pool water in your mouth and throw that water out of your mouth at me. You are spitting on me. That is a boundary that I have. Do not do
Have we been
this.
in a pool together? I don't do that, but I'm asking.
In the Dominican Republic, we
Oh,
definitely
we played tennis.
We also went. Did we get in the water at all when we went to Myrtle Beach and when we were sleeping in that closet?
We got in the beach. I don't think we got in a pool.
I don't think. I remember you had me walking on the beach at sunset.
Yeah,
crazy early.
It was so beautiful.
Crazy early.
Anyways, I asked the question because I feel like sometimes when we express our boundaries, we do not go into detail enough so that somebody gets it all the way. And I kind of think that goes into like not being able to list off all of the. Are you getting done? Not being able to list off all of your boundaries. So if you, I mean, people who are just like they don't like pictures, right?
Like pictures being taken of them.
Yeah, like don't take my picture.
Oh, especially without permission. Like that girl the other day, we were somewhere, and
oh yeah, and a girl, she was just
at the end of the night came up and was just like,
weird.
"What did she ask? Hey, did you have any of the food?" Yeah.
We were sitting down because we know what happened, and I feel like we kind of start talking.
Okay, go ahead.
Into what happened. We were sitting down at a bar. A young lady was coming by. She walked up and asked Justin how he liked the food. While she did so, she had her phone in her hand and she was recording.
I assumed she was going to then ask me if it was okay.
Never asked. Then she moved on to the next person. She's walking around the bar. My thing was, you're recording. You're not asking anybody. You're just walking up to people, asking their reaction to whatever, to the food.
I would assume personally that that's a boundary for most people, that you should ask them first.
Yeah.
But to her, apparently, that's not the case.
Yeah. So to the point of people having an issue with you taking their picture, I also have seen same people have pictures of them that have been taken. They're just like, I don't like pictures. But kind of realizing like some of it is, I don't like pictures. Like I'm uncomfortable sometimes when people try to take a picture of me because I can't see what it looks like. And so there may be like a minor mouth
making a face.
Yeah,
you weren't caught at your best.
That other people may not see, but I see, and it makes me uncomfortable. My mom and I talk about it all the time. And so I will take a selfie, and I've had people be like, "Oh, you want me to take your picture?" I'm like, "No, it's okay. I'll just take it because I can see it."
You pass a lot. You pass a lot on people's.
Yeah, I'm saying I got it. It'll be fine. But sometimes we have boundaries and we give a blanket statement of said boundary, but we don't go into detail enough, and then somebody violates that boundary in a different way than how they interpreted it. And then it becomes I feel like an unexpressed expectation. Also to your point about liking people's pictures, where it is your boundary may be, I'm not going to be with somebody who's not faithful, and so you want your partner to be faithful.
What does faithful look like?
Right. And so it is important for people to not just make the statement, but have the conversation, explain and express to people that you care about what you mean by those boundaries. And for that reason, so that people fully understand what it is, what's triggering you, what you don't like, what you do like, what you need, what you don't need. That even goes into being in romantic relationships and wanting a partner who buys you flowers because it's Wednesday. I expressed to my husband, I like romance. I grew up watching all the movies and all of those things where the guy stands in the rain with the boombox and there's flowers because it's Wednesday and all of these very sweet and kind things. And I had to express to him that that's what I would like in your own way, but that's what I would like. because it would make me feel loved, and it would make me feel cared about, and it would make me feel important, and it would make me feel special. And we had to have those conversations because it's something that's important to me, and I can't walk around mad because I didn't tell you what it is that I want and need out of this relationship. And that it is not okay with me if you don't check in. It is not okay with me if you, whatever the boundary is, guys. I think it's important to...
You got to talk about it. There's a lot of nuance in it, and it requires consistent
whole lot of talking. For the people out there who like, I don't like do all that talking. All she does is talk. All he does, he just want to talk. There's nothing wrong with talking. There's a lot that can come out of talking. There's a lot that can be learned from just having conversation. And even when it seems like the same conversation's happening over and over again, you're able to pull new things out. Pastor Josh said something about that when we were talking. What did he say? He was like, it's not that you're having the same conversation over and over again. It's that you're...
I remember him saying, I can't remember what.
Oh, he said something that was really good about the fact that it's not that you're having the same conversation over and over again. You're pulling out something, or you're realizing, or you're getting to the root of it. You're getting to the root of it, and that's, more so what's happening aside from having the same conversation over again. I think that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. You guys for hanging out with us. You already know the drill. Like, follow, share. We are on YouTube. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify and like 12 other
Follow
platforms.
us on Instagram, the Beloved Dorseys. Do we have a recommendation of
yeah, I got you.
activity? Okay.
So what was it?
While she's thinking about it, this podcast is also sponsored by Black Girl Bless Handmade Boutique Earrings. You can follow them at black.girl.blessed on Instagram or blackgirlblessed.com.
Earrings dropping on February 4th.
Just in time for the Valentine's.
Just in time. So we have a game called Tonight's Conversations.
Okay, yeah.
And we have the
naughty version?
It's not the naughty version, but it's some like couples version. It's more like what is it? It talks more about like sex and your sex life or whatever. And we keep it in the kitchen. But
because that's where it goes down.
As a couple or as friends or whatever, if you're somebody who lives with somebody, Tonight's Conversations has several different decks that you can get, and they have different conversations. And sometimes when we're cooking, we just leave the deck on the counter and we'll pull a card and we'll just have a conversation. There are questions about what you like, what you don't like, how you like it, where you like it, all of those things. But that is just that deck. There again are questions. We have one for couples and relationships where it asks questions about those things. They have a bunch of different decks, so definitely check that out. That's always helpful. It's great for conversation. And because we just keep the deck out and around,
we can randomly pull it and
we can just have like random little conversations where we learn more about each other. And so I think that's important in any relationship, again, whether it's marriage or your friends or your family. It's important to continuously learn the people around you that you love and you want to continue to walk through life with. You can follow me at Mrs. Beloved Dorsey on Instagram. I have just made my page public. I don't really post much on there, but I'm going to start. So that's why I said you can follow me there.
You can find your boy at Justin the Beloved on IG.
Also follow me on black.girl.blessed.
Already told him. Yep.
Thanks, husband. We're out.
Until next time.